Hey everyone. I heard that the mega meeting went really well last month. It was on a Thursday. I'm so glad that I decided to stay put because we, as I mentioned to some of the team, that I manage like 13 extra dumpsters that we bring in because we get so much waste during move out week, and we had a student that accidentally threw her passport away, and we were scrambling to see if we had a chance to find it, but then the city was so good at picking up the dumpsters and returning them, and that we weren't able to find it. So we're hoping that she was able to. I guess there are some options if you don't have your passport. If you travel with your family, for instance, that you could still travel. But anyway, glad to hear that went really well. Should we go ahead and get started, Lori? Okay.
That sounds great.
So I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself and then go to Lori, and then she'll probably handle the rest, the introductions. But I'm Marty with the Energy Manager for the University of Tampa, acting chair, and excited about the rest that we had ahead of us in this team moving forward toward the end of the year.
Great, thank you, Marty. Hello, everyone. My name is Lori Polea with JMP. I'm on mute?
Oh,
I can hear. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Just to let everyone know, this meeting is being recorded, and if you are not speaking, please.
Hey, Lori, we still can't hear you. I don't know if it's your headphones or.
No, I can. Can you? Yeah, here. Can you hear us, Marty?
Do you hear Eric? I guess while he's sorting out the volume thing, I'll go down the list. Alex Burns.
Yep, I'm here.
And what is your organization?
Oh, I am with EXP, but I'm working with Eric and the FDOT District 7 Office of Safety.
Still can't hear you. I can't hear you anyway.
Awesome. Okay, Amy Elmore.
You're
muted, Amy.
I was on mute. Hello, I'm Amy Elmore. I'm with EXP, working with the District 7 Office of Safety as well.
Huh. So you guys could hear me, but I can't hear you? Okay. So I guess that's all right. If I can't hear you, then I put the main screen on my laptop and wondering if there was a setting that I didn't do right, but I guess we could keep on going. No issues if I can't hear you guys, and then once just kind of go like this, Lori, when you're finished with the introductions, and then I'll keep on going.
Okay, Denise Evans.
Hi, everybody. Denise Evans with Hillsborough County Anti-Drug Alliance.
Ellen Snelling.
Hi, Ellen Snelling with Tampa Alcohol Coalition in Hillsborough County Anti-Drug Alliance.
Eric Henry.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Eric Henry with FDOT District 7, Office of Traffic Safety.
Jim Hartwell.
Good afternoon, Jim Hartwell, Element Engineering, Safety Prime for D7.
Jim Reiser.
Good afternoon, Jim Reiser, District 7 Law Enforcement Liaison.
Julie Bond.
Hello, this is Julie Bond, and Brenton is here. We're just off-site getting ready for ELEE. So have a little bit of limited capacity to chat, but we're here.
Thanks for joining. Madison Kopler.
Madison Kopler with Hillsborough County Anti-Drug Alliance.
Asking if we're listening in.
No, I just.
Okay. Mike White.
Let me.
Why I can't hear him.
Mike White, Tampa Police Department, DIU.
Sarah Linares.
Sarah Linares with Way Engineering.
Is there anyone else on the call that I missed? Okay, I think that's everyone. I don't know if Marty could hear or not.
You're muted now, Marty. If you can't hear us, you're muted.
I had everybody, I had both speaker settings on, so I think that was why I couldn't hear you.
Gotcha.
And Christian's so good at the IT stuff, so. But appreciate that, and so yeah, we did all the introductions, and now I guess has anybody had a chance to review the minutes, the April minutes? I had a good chance to review them. I'll give you a few minutes to review those, and then we'll vote to approve. And the next meeting at USF there, Cutter, is that that would be July meeting, Lori, that's in person?
Yes, let me check my calendar. The next meeting would be, yeah, so it's going to be July 16th in person at Cutter.
Great. Thank you to USF Cutter for that. And maybe the next in-person meeting we could have here at UT. That worked out really great last time. Do I have an approval of the meeting minutes for April?
Yes, Jim Reiser, I'll move to approve.
Thanks, Jim. Do we have a second?
Mike White, I'll second.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, so the next thing on the agenda is the business updates. I think we have a presentation today, Lori, too. Just wanted to mention that at the end. So looking forward to that. business updates, I have a couple of updates on that, and then waiting on some return emails. But the first one there, Lois Avenue crossing at ACC campus. I have an email into Cedric McCrae. He's actually with Community Redevelopment Agency. He's the director, the CRA, and I believe he has the Tampa Gov email address. That's with COT, with the city of Tampa. So just waiting to hear back from him. But the good news is I think we got to the right folks, and we'll be able to get updates as we go on that project. And just judging from experience, or talking from experience, that sometimes those things take time, especially when you're in a community redevelopment agency. So any update we'll welcome, and as soon as I get a chance to communicate with Cedric McCrae over there at the city, I will pass that on to the team. So that's the update on that number one there. Yeah, the lighting issues at Bruce McDonald and Holly Drive, and we made some progress on that. Actually, it was a Mike Zinn recommendation way back. I think it was in February 2023. To talk to Bob. Let me see here.
Bob Campbell.
And I'm sorry.
Bob Campbell, right?
Bob Campbell, yeah. And so Bob mentioned in his email response that Mike Flick with Hillsborough County leads the program for that intersection and corridor lighting. He's working with TECO. So I actually know the supervisor of business development for street lighting at TECO, and I talked with him today, and he pulled up a list of ongoing projects and current projects, and he couldn't find anything on that. But then he said, hey, if you could get more details, Marty, that would be great. Is this lighting issue just at the intersection? Is this a street lighting at the intersection, or does it involve a crosswalk? Is anybody aware of any more details on that project? If not, I'll just wait for Mike to respond. And, in the email, they asked Mike, to go ahead and provide those details to us on that project. The other thing, I'll wait until the Pepin Stadium, the crosswalk on North Boulevard, to share some more details that I found out that could be another good option when it comes to crosswalks and pedestrian safety. But I'll wait for that North Boulevard crosswalk problem location. Yes, so item number 3, the Kennedy Boulevard, Willow Avenue, Delaware Avenue, stormwater issue. The city actually is finishing up on the last water line work with the water project here on campus today. And it's actually replacing a fire hydrant, and they weren't able to isolate that fire hydrant, so they had to put some line stops. It's almost like a valve that they put in the pipe, so they could isolate that fire hydrant to replace it. And it's a city fire hydrant, so they're doing that today. It's supposedly going to hopefully finish up by the end of this week. The thing I wanted to mention to the team is that they're using a different contractor called Dallas. And Wester was the main contractor involved with most of the water line work. So I think that's a kind of good sign. That's a new contractor they're working with to finish up on the water line work, but then maybe they're getting closer to the stormwater work on Kennedy that would help us here on that problem location number 3. And so far it's just really speculation right now, but then we think that they're going to put an extra stormwater inlet on the north side of Kennedy on Willow. It's not clear whether or not they're going to put one on Kennedy. And just that rain that we got on, what was it, yesterday, or was it Monday? It was just such a small rain, but boy, I went out there right after the rain, and took some photos, and it just built up so quickly. So we're going to keep an eye on that one. And then problem location 4. So, we talked about that, we tried for a city grant and it didn't go through. But then we would look at just one location, probably the biggest challenge, location spot there on North Boulevard, and that's at Pepin Stadium and West Garage there. And in talking with Lee over there at TICO, their supervisor of business development and street lighting, they just were presented, they've been working with this company, a lighting company, for a long, long time, and presented with some more options of where you could put the, wonder if Eric has probably heard anything about this, but they actually put the, aesthetics has always been an issue for the University of Tampa. For Dr. Vaughn, he's our former president. We're not sure, the new president, how she feels about it, but put one of those flashing, signals at the crosswalk there, it just wasn't. We actually tried to get that through, talking with campus safety today on that. In fact, I did talk with campus safety, and there, one of the gentlemen that I talked with, he in his own, pretty close to his house, they have some LEDs right in the crosswalk. I'm not sure if it was a, speed table, a raised crosswalk, or just a regular crosswalk. But they'll put the LED lights right in the crosswalk. They're very subtle, but then, if you could put them on a flasher where the students can use, if we were to try that over here, and I guess it's very effective. My own feeling is that we put a raised or a speed table, raised crosswalk, and then LED lights right in the crosswalk. He actually was presented, and so part of that presentation was solar lighting. So one of the questions I had is, can you, incorporate solar lighting right in the crosswalk, or does it have to be, one of those flashing signals that's, once the students push the button that it flashes, when they're ready to cross. So he said, Marty, I'll share that presentation with you if I can find it and if I'm able to. So, but if not, I'm just going to have a discussion with them. And then he mentioned that, hey, we're looking to try some pilots, pilot studies, and that a lot of times, it's their money that they spend. And I was like, hey, if you're able to, get that through, I could try to see if, how, that would be received with the University of Tampa as far as doing a pilot study at that crosswalk there at North Boulevard, and it's right by Pepin Stadium and West Garage, just south of Cass Street. So I thought that was very positive, and technology is moving so quick, and I just had a good feeling about it. But just wondering if anybody else has heard of that, or Eric, have you dealt with any of that kind of stuff?
I've definitely seen the treatment before. I don't think we have it on any state roads. I'm not sure what the background is, but there's some reason why we don't implement them. I don't know if it's like a maintenance thing or what, but I know I've seen them around in the district, other places, I think, and I've heard them talked about as a potential treatment before.
Great. So so I'll keep in tune to that, and going back to the solar lighting, new information that we've got recently, that if we're able to not have to run power, and depending upon how aesthetically these things turn out, but doing a pilot, maybe TICO ends up doing a pilot somewhere else, and we could check that out. But there was a campus safety, Rick is his first name. I've worked with him a lot. He actually just put a generator in his house, and he's sharing with me a very cost-effective generator. But he mentioned that he has seen it implemented in his area, and he was going to take a picture of it. So once I get those pictures, I'll share that with the team. And then that's it on those problem locations as far as updates. So I guess the next item on the agenda is the calendar updates, activity reports. Any law enforcement activity or updates?
This is Sergeant White. I can speak on for the DUI unit with crash statistics and the other things that's going on with DUI. I'm sure you all saw it on the news or on social media. We did a big campaign about mostly targeting underage fake IDs for the college students towards the end of the year. It netted dozens of arrests between Ybor City and Soho. We hit that, I think it was 3 weekends in a row, and slowed a lot of the bar and the underage drinking down quite a bit. And all the kids are home now, so they'll get a break of it, but we'll probably turn it back up again at the start of the year and hopefully start off on a good footnote with that. Had 132 DUI, people arrested for DUI last month. We're going through with a lot with education in the high schools, trying to get on top of that. So before they come to the universities, they're well-rounded and well-knowledgeable, not drinking and driving and things of that nature. So for crashes, there's a total of 4 fatal crashes last month. Not sure. They're probably not within the 1 mile radius, but I'll just go through them because some of them may be tied to some of the off-campus things. The first one was that Bush in Armenia. That's a vehicular homicide and a DUI manslaughter. Guy ran a red light at over 100 miles an hour, struck a car, and killed the driver of that car. The other one was at Kennedy and Lewis. That was a pedestrian walking out of, he was in the crosswalk, but walking against the light, and he was struck and killed by a car. The next one we had was at Nebraska and Robson. That was also DUI related, although right now it's sitting as a misdemeanor DUI because we're trying to prove causation. And it looks like the pedestrian's probably more at fault than the driver. And the last of them we had was 50th and 23rd. And that was we're not real sure exactly what happened there, why the guy was in the road. We have conflicting statements on that, but it was a homeless guy with mental health issues that went out in the middle of the road and was hit and struck. So those were the 4 that we had for May. Again, the only one I think that's probably within that 1 mile radius is possibly the Nebraska and Robbins and the Bush in Armenia. Other than that, that's all I have for law enforcement.
Thank you, Mike.
This is Jim Reiser. I can build on a couple things with Mike, especially on the DUI stats. Give you a snapshot countywide in May. 391 DUI arrests. That's up from 313 in April. The highest percentage in the arresting group is 21 to 34 years of age. They represented 187 of those 391 arrests. The interesting stat that sticks out to me is that the 18 to 20 age group had 11 out of the 391, which is a very low percentage, but they had the highest average blood alcohol level at a 0.172. Just to give you an idea, the average for last month was 0.138. So, we still have some challenges with those groups, but Tampa's been doing a fantastic job with that outreach to the vendors. And I think Sergeant White can attest, word has gotten out that underage drinking is not acceptable within the city, especially within those entertainment districts. See if there's anything else that sticks out here. Day of the week with the most DUI activity last month in May was, of course, Saturday, with Sunday probably the early AM hours running a close second. So speaking statewide initiatives, the Click It or Ticket program was worked over Memorial Day weekend. We're taking reporting on that now, but that's a statewide effort. But just about every agency within D7 participated, with heavy participation by Tampa Police Department, Hillsborough County Sheriff. And we're looking at a speed enforcement initiative in mid-July that's going to target speeding primarily along limited access facilities, but the cities and counties also use it on their roads. And then with D7's Ely initiative started again June 1st. So I don't know if Eric wanted to add something about that, but that's something that just got going again for enhanced enforcement out there by law enforcement, and I can yield back.
Good information, Joe. Not sure if we have anybody here that can give us an update on or activity reports on the bicycle pedestrian reports.
I can just mention the only thing we really have going on our side for this group that I can mention is we're going to be out tomorrow. University of Florida IFAS Extension in Pasco County is holding an event in Dade City, community resource event, just a bunch of different organizations coming out to provide resources for housing, healthcare, substance abuse, stuff like that. So we will be out there handing out some traffic safety stuff. And the only other thing I can mention is we are in the 100 Deadliest Days for Teen Drivers, which is kind of a national focus campaign targeting our teen drivers during the 100 days where they're most likely to sustain a severe or fatal crash. I know a lot of our university students are aged out of that teenage age range, but still some overlap. So I thought I'd mention it.
Thanks for mentioning, Eric. Yeah, I saw that some of the emails regarding that.
I can add one thing to Eric. There is Jim Reiser again, D7LEL, the Institute of Police Technology and Management through University of North Florida manages a law enforcement grant that puts extra officers on the street for pedestrian and bicycle safety. The program for this fiscal year wrapped up in May. However, the kickoff meetings with the new corridors that are going to be addressed are being disseminated now, and there'll be kickoff roundtables to those agencies. They'll find out what their funding level is allocated. Probably locally, you'll start seeing activity for ped and bike safety with extra patrols sometime around the end of July, beginning of August. City takes a little bit longer because it has to get approved by city council because it's a fairly large contract. But I think, Marty, you've probably seen those officers that were camped out in front of UT. That's not a punitive program. That's an outreach. I mean, we will cite people, but it has to be pretty egregious for pedestrian. More or less, what's getting cited with that is a lot of the vehicles that are speeding through that area, Kennedy Boulevard. But I don't know if that area qualified again. It's based strictly on crash data, so we'll find out shortly.
I did see that, Jim, but yeah, so effective. I think, hopefully, actually it's a catch-22. If we have enough of those, then I guess you guys will be out here. But if we don't have enough, then you won't be out here. So, but that would be very effective, though.
Yeah, that's a crash data. It's built on targeted locations based on serious bodily injuries and fatalities. The good thing is that if you're not on the list, that means that nobody's gotten hurt seriously on those corridors. But if you are on the list, we still have a problem out there. So it's kind of like you said, a catch-22. It's good and bad. If we're not out there, it means your fatalities are down, but you may lose out on some of that patrol because it is targeted locations.
Thanks so much for mentioning, Jim. I guess we could go to the fourth item on the agenda, fatal crash maps.
Okay, so for the fatal crash maps, starting out with 2025, I think back in April, we still had the 2024 fatal crash maps we were discussing. So from January 1st to March 20th of 2025, there have been 2 fatal crashes within a 1-mile proximity to a college campus. And these are just Hillsborough County College campus, including like USF, UT, and like the HCC campuses. Same period in 2024, there were 6 fatal crashes, so we were down by 4 fatal crashes same period. So there's been an improvement since that same time frame last year, which is good. The 2 new university fatal crashes include a USF left turn vehicular fatal crash and an HCC Brandon campus pedestrian fatal crash. So for the HCC Brandon campus, that was the pedestrian fatal crash. It was report number 265500123, and it occurred on January 1st unfortunately, on New Year's Day at 9:23 in the morning on Williams Road and River International Drive at the T intersection in day clear and dry conditions. The vehicle was traveling south on Williams Road, north of River International Drive, and the pedestrian was either walking on the west sidewalk along Williams Road or on the roadway on the edge of Williams Road. There was evidence that the vehicle left the roadway at River International Drive and traveled south on the sidewalk. The vehicle's front right panel contacted the pedestrian, and the driver was under the influence of alcohol with a BAC of 0.090. So that was intoxication related, driver to pedestrian. And then for the USF left turn fatal crash, that was report number 268711935 on January 3rd at 9:44 a.m. on Bougainvillea Avenue and McKinley Drive at the four-way intersection in day clear and dry conditions. Vehicle 1 was traveling southbound on McKinley Drive, approaching Bougainvillea Avenue in the outside lane. Vehicle 4 was traveling southbound on McKinley Drive, approaching East Bougainvillea Avenue in the outside lane ahead of Vehicle 1. Vehicle 2 was traveling northbound on McKinley Drive, approaching Bougainvillea Avenue in the left turn lane. Vehicle 3 was traveling northbound on McKinley Drive, approaching Bougainvillea Avenue in the left turn lane behind Vehicle 2. Vehicle 2 attempted to make a left-hand turn onto eastbound Bougainvillea Avenue, failing to yield to southbound traffic. Drivers of Vehicle 1 and Vehicle 4 advised that they had a green light, but several witnesses advised the light cycle was in the process of changing from north-south to east-west. As a result, Vehicle 4 swerved to avoid the collision, and Vehicle 4 lost control, driving off of the roadway to the right, causing the left side of the vehicle to strike a utility pole. This crash was kind of crazy. Subsequently, the front of Vehicle 1 struck the right side of Vehicle 2, and then Vehicle 2 rolled over multiple times after impact, coming to final rest southeast of the area of collision off the roadway. And the spare tire of Vehicle 2 was dislodged. As a result, the spare tire struck the hood of Vehicle 3. And Vehicle 3 remained stopped in traffic northbound on McKinley Drive, approaching Bougainvillea Avenue in the left turn lane. Vehicle 1 continued in motion southwest, crossing over the center median and coming to final rest in northbound lanes, and the driver of Vehicle 2 succumbed to their injuries. So there's a lot of vehicles involved in that crash. It was very sad. And that is everything I have for the two new fatals.
Yeah, so we're in a new year.
Mm-hmm.
And looks like we're a little bit better than last year, are we, Lori? Do I have that right?
Yeah, we are done by 4, same period up through March 20th. And again, these crashes are unofficial, so they're always subject to change. But yeah, currently we're doing a lot better.
Great. That's good news. Thank you for that. Any open forum announcements before we get into the presentation? And I'm afraid to get out of my, to be honest with you, get out of this call to look at your email, Lori, that you sent on what the presentation was about. I don't want to change any settings on my computer or anything, but
Yeah, so Amy will be giving a presentation on FDOT District 7 crash data analysis and campaign recommendations.
yeah, so maybe we'd save the open forum announcements for after the presentation then.
That's good.
Okay. Thank you, Amy.
Not so much, everybody. I apologize for my dog barking in the background. So really excited to talk to everybody today. My name's Amy Elmore. I am a consultant with EXP, and we are working with the District 7 Office of Safety to strategically think through some of the campaigns that we're seeing based on a data-driven solution. And I will just preface this by saying I have been in the area for over 10 years. I am a resident here, and I am, deeply invested in ensuring that, we get everybody in our communities home safely. Alex is also with me today. He is our data analyst, and he is a specialist at all things data. He's also local to this area. He was a Hillsborough County teacher down in Waimama, so he's very intimately involved and understands a lot of the unique things happening within our community. Next. So first I want to tell you about our approach and what we're going to talk about today, and then what we're hoping to get out of this presentation and really discussion with you today. So we've taken a look at the Target Zero framework, how they did what they did, how they created the Target Zero campaign, and it's really this data-driven collaborative approach to ensuring that our communication strategies align with the data and the issues that we're seeing throughout our communities. So we've taken that same Target Zero framework and we have applied it to each county. So we've taken that framework and gone county by county to identify the crash spots that we're seeing throughout the communities and who that's affecting, when that's affecting them, how that's affecting them. And then based on that data, we have developed some campaign strategies that we think could help in these areas. So overall, what we are hoping to achieve here today from you by the end of our discussion, we want to see what is the data not telling us? What other sides of the story is there that we need to consider as we go into these campaigns? What campaigns might have worked in the past? What campaigns are, how can you help us support these campaigns and really kind of create this campaign with you, and so that we can really see the success out of that. Next. So with that, I will let Alex take you through some of the different data that we are seeing. And this is in Hillsborough County. We do have some information specific to the university areas if questions arise, but we're going to focus our time right now on Hillsborough County specifically. So with that, Alex, take it away.
All right. So this is just some very high level basic data. There's a million different ways to look at this. And if there's a way that you'd like to see the data that we do have, if there's a way that you'd like to see it analyzed or a question that I can follow up with, please don't hesitate to ask. But this is just kind of a jumping off point for the conversation. So what we have here are just some important definitions as we go through, and we can refer back to this slide at any time. But I'll just quickly go through them. Lane departures are defined, and this is all like FDOT data definitions. Lane departures are any crash that's not in an intersection where at least one vehicle involved left its lane of travel. Occupant protection refers to people who are not wearing seatbelts. Aging road users, FDOT has defined that as people 65 years or older. So when you see that term, that's what it's talking about. Motorcycles are vehicle body type 11, only motorcycles. And motor scooters are vehicle body type 12, which refers to mopeds. Pedestrians are any walkers or runners that are not in a vehicle. Bicyclists, any people using non-motorized or human-powered vehicles, including e-bikes and e-scooters. That's a topic that's come up many times in the last couple of years. So bicyclists that term does include e-bikes and e-scooters. Impaired driving is when at least one driver involved has either tested positive for drugs or alcohol or has refused to submit to a drug or alcohol test. And then distracted driving is any crash that occurs while the driver is engaged in a behavior that takes their attention away from the task of driving. All right, and again, if we need to refer back to this at any time, please feel free to jump in, ask questions. We can always come back to it. All right, so this is just a high-level overview of where in Hillsborough County. This is from 2024, and this is serious injuries and fatalities. So that's what this map is showing. And across Hillsborough County, it's pretty much what you would expect. Central Tampa has a lot of crashes, a lot of serious injuries and fatalities. Brandon over here, and you see any major population centers. You've got Ruskin and Sun City Center down here, Riverview and the 301 corridor over here. And then any major roadways, you can pretty much see it just follows the major roadways. We've got I-4, I-75, 275. You can see this line that just goes around here. and curves off to head across the Howard Franklin, Suncoast, US 301, State Road 60, US 41, US 92, all of those roads. So it's pretty much what you would expect anywhere where there's a lot of people, and then roadways where there's a lot of traffic. So there wasn't anything that really jumped out there that wouldn't be what we expect. Overall crash trends from the last 5 years, this left graph is just serious injuries and fatalities. So there has been a slight dip across Hillsborough County of, it looks like maybe about 100 serious injuries from 2020 to 2024. Fatalities has pretty much stayed flat, about around a little more than 200 a year. And we were able to get down a little bit below 200 for 2024. And then total crashes has gone up since 2020, although we all remember 2020 was kind of a crazy year. So take that with a grain of salt. But total crashes have remained relatively flat. All right. FDOT has defined 14 different emphasis areas, and these are the highest emphasis areas for Hillsborough County. This was for database out of 2024 for serious injuries and fatalities. So the highest emphasis areas that caused serious injuries or that were involved in serious injury crashes were intersections, lane departures, aging road users, pedestrians and bicyclists, and motorcyclists. And that's countywide. And then the emphasis areas that were involved with fatalities included pedestrians. These are the top 5. So pedestrians and bicyclists, intersections, lane departures, impaired driving, and speeding and aggressive driving. So you can see that the classifications or characteristics of the crashes that caused fatalities were quite different from those that caused serious injuries. This impaired driving and speeding and aggressive driving was much more likely to actually lead to a fatality. So any questions so far before I keep going? I feel like I'm kind of just rushing through. All right. Next up is when have crashes happened? And this is based off of 2020 through 2024 data. So what I did was I pulled the data for the last 5 years, and I saw, was there any day of the week or time of day or month where it consistently year to year was popping up with the most serious injuries or fatalities. For days of the week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday were continually the worst days for serious injuries and fatalities across Hillsborough County. For times of day, mid to late afternoon, it kind of looks like once people about 3 o'clock start getting off work, and then when the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock rush happens, you can see a very clear line throughout the day that serious injuries got much worse during those probably about 3 to 6 or 3 to 7 o'clock hours. For fatalities, however, evening hours were worse. It was usually after 8 o'clock that fatalities were the worst. And these are trends that we noticed across years. So this wasn't just pulled out of one year. This was something we noticed in 2020, 2021, 2022, all the way through 2024. And then months that jumped out again repeatedly over the last 5 years for serious injuries was January, March, and October. And then for fatalities was January and October. All right, and now we look at groups of people who we have identified as being most at risk. For serious injuries, it's these 2 age groups, 25 through 34, and then 35 through 44. So those young adults and then like mid-adult age groups had the highest rates of serious injuries. Pedestrians and bicyclists, and then motorcyclists were all groups that popped up as groups of concern for serious injuries. For fatalities, again, that 25 through 34 age group was high in fatalities. Different from the serious injuries, though, was that aging road user, that 65 plus age group, they had a higher rate of fatalities. So that's definitely something to keep in mind in our continuing conversations. And then pedestrians and bicyclists had high rates of fatalities. All right, and I'll turn it back over to Amy.
Thank you, Alex. So based on that information, we decided that we would like to focus on our distracted driving campaign. So trying to ensure that lane departures aren't happening or anything like that. So we wanted to, oh, can you go back?
Okay, yep, I'll go back.
So we were wanting to align this campaign with the drive time is you time, ride with do not disturb. That's the official Target Zero campaign. So our campaign would align with that. We would focus on aging road users, both male and female, that might have some slower reaction times. But then we'd also focus on road users ages 25 to 34. And we're looking at, really making sure that we talk about not being on your phone, keeping your eyes up and your mind sharp, things like that. Looking at having some event presence throughout the communities, doing some social media campaigns, community signage, different partner collaborations, focusing on educational resources, and then partnering with groups like AARP, gas stations, signage on major highways, and even tourism boards to reach our tourists as well. And next. So with this strategy in mind, I wanted to see what everyone thought about this strategy to identify if there are any other campaigns that we should be focusing on or that you would recommend based on your experience, or is there data out there that is qualitative instead of quantitative that we should be considering when developing these campaigns. So with that, I'd love to open it up for any questions or discussion and get your thoughts and feedback. And if you don't have any thoughts or feedback at this time, if you do have ideas that come to you later of other partners that we might be able to work with, other groups that we should be focusing on our campaign, or other stories that we should be telling through this, you can contact us at any time through Eric or Lori, or just use our emails that you have here and let us know at any time, and we'd be happy to hop on a call and discuss this more with you.
This is Jim Reiser, District 7 Liaison. I have one question that kind of piqued my interest. I want to make sure I'm interpreting the information correctly.
Absolutely.
So you said the primary target is 65 and plus drivers for distracted driving. Is that correct?
That is what we wanted to focus this particular campaign on. With the understanding that our 25 to 34 might be some of the folks who are also some of the distracted driving offenders.
I'm just curious. I thought it would be the other way around. It's just interesting. The data showed that your primary should be the 65 and plus up, but if that's what it showed, I mean, overall it looks pretty good. I was just wondering how that was determined to be the main offender of distracted driving.
No, that's a really great point because you're right. The data does show that the primary person affected by some of these is that 25 to 34. We were thinking about who would be the most vulnerable user, but that's a really good point. Maybe we should be focused more on the 25 to 34. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to, I was wondering what kind of methodology you were using for that. I understand the 65 and plus is an issue, might be because maybe delayed reaction times. That's what I think the public's going to say. They're going to say, well, are we going after, say they're texting and they're 65 and they're going to have a delayed reaction time as compared to somebody who's younger, but you still have, the law violation there. And it's, And I would
Right.
think your higher violations are the younger, and it's super challenging this year because there's no enhancements coming into the distracted driving law. I think that the hands-free law was indefinitely postponed until next session.
Oh, interesting. Okay. That's a really great point, Jim. Thank you so much. And I'm just taking a few notes here on the side.
This Jim Hartwell with Element. I'm just wondering, did any of your data target the at-fault drivers and what age group the at-fault drivers were, what were their primary ages? And then I'm retired law enforcement, and I know that I had a lot of repeat customers, people that had multiple citations throughout their driving history. And it just seems to me that a lot of your data look like these are the people who were seriously injured or involved in fatalities, but we can't target the victim. We have to target more of who's causing these crashes, and is there a correlation between, their driving behaviors, instead of doing a broad campaign that targets, hey, be careful out there, but it seems to be we need to target the people that are the at-fault drivers, with the people that are in multiple crashes, multiple citations, instead of just doing a campaign that says to the public, hey, do these things because bad things are happening. I think we need to try and educate and speak to those drivers, because I know, and I think it's still continuing, the courts are waiving schools, waiving points, and that doesn't, it's not working for people, that are the repeat offenders that are more likely to be causing these crashes.
Mm-hmm. Jim, that's such a great point. So making sure that we are targeting this message to the offenders rather than the victims of these crashes.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. Alex, that's something that we can pull, I believe, right? Can we pull that data?
To my knowledge, actually, no. Like what we have through Signal 4 doesn't identify people. So I can't like filter it and say, do we see names that are popping up again and again and again? And beyond that, it doesn't identify who's at fault. So it just identifies the characteristics of the crash.
Right.
But any sort of identifying information is very, very limited.
But by using the characteristics, you could see that, I don't know, I don't think it's changed yet, but I know that typically vehicle 1 in a crash report is, at least when I was doing crash reports, that was, taught as that should be your at-fault vehicle. And then from there on, it and then all the boxes, that are in the crash report that says, first harmful event, second harmful event. Those are the information that can kind of dictate. And looking at a bunch of check boxes, unfortunately, I don't think really gives the best picture. But for serious injury and fatal crashes, there's always a narrative and probably a diagram. And that's where the information, because a bunch of check boxes, it's statistics. It's, my wife says a kind of funny thing with statistics, that 100% of people that eat carrots are going to die. So, it does, so it doesn't do us any good to have these check boxes if we don't interpret them properly and if they're not checked properly, which sometimes happens just with officers, and they're going to the next 5 crashes, so they're getting through them.
I think in the data too, I think there's like a thing that says like no contributing action. So like when you look at like the action of the driver or the pedestrian, if it says no contributing action, then I usually look at like, okay, is it a non-motorist? Is he at fault? Or is it driver 2 that was at fault? So usually if there's a no contributing action in one of the columns, I look at another column to see like, okay, maybe driver 2 had the contributing action that caused the crash, or maybe it was the non-motorist who walked in front of the vehicle or something. So that's kind of another way to sort through the data, is looking to see if it says no contributing action or if it says like what their contributing action is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I definitely I know that we have access to that level of, so that's definitely something that I can look into.
Perfect. Thanks, Lori, and thanks, Jim. That's a really, really great point. We will definitely look deeper into that.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. This is fantastic feedback. Does anyone else have any other ideas about the campaign or any other partners that we should be including in this message and mission?
Are you working on this for statewide, or is this just the D7 project? Is Jim Reiser District 7 liaison again?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Yeah, just for District 7 right now.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Amy and Alex. That was a great discussion, and just a general comment for me, put the phone away or pay. That's a great campaign name. You know, when my 2 sisters came down, when I just went through a recent surgery, they, you know, I mentioned to them, and I remember bringing this up at the last year's May mega meeting, toward the end of a expert panel discussion, and he had a PhD, and he mentioned, he was I think lieutenant, mentioned that, you know, he did research on, you know, distracted driving because of your phone, and or impaired driving because of your phone. My 2 sisters mentioned that in Illinois, you know, they passed much more strict laws regarding, you know, using your phone while you're driving, and it's so prominent here in Tampa. Maybe it's just me, you know, I'm on the way to work, and you know, I'm in major corridors when I come to work on Kennedy is one of them. But it's just you know, you have people using the left lane to get in on their phone, using the passing lane to get on their phone, and creating almost barricades, you know, holding up traffic and stuff. But the lieutenant mentioned that, you know, this was a good question, and that, you know, we need to strengthen our laws regarding impaired driving to phones, as attributed to phones. So, but yeah, thank you so much for that great discussion.
Thank you, Martin. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and I just saw an email pop up on the screen. I didn't get out of the call, but and Lee Isham with TICO, they're you know, these supervisor of business development for street lighting. He just emailed me that presentation as far as lighting at crosswalks, and so I'm going to take a look at that, and maybe, I don't know, we'll see. I'll talk with Lori and Eric and see, maybe I could present that same presentation in next month's meeting. But I'm excited about it because you know, TICO and our utility partners are at the forefront of lighting technology, and if they're willing to do a pilot at one of our problem locations, that would be great. So anyway, just wanted to mention that. As far as the open forum and announcements, but any other open forum and announcements? I guess not. And we took the full hour today. thanks so much, Amy and Alex, for that presentation, and thanks so much, everybody. And I guess we'll adjourn, and we'll see you at next month's meeting over there in USF Cutter. Looking forward to that.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks.
everyone. Have a great
Thanks,
day.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.